this is a resource available to you as part of the Mind in Bloom membership programme or gift experience. I'm going to talk to you very briefly about how to sow seeds into discs, but in a generic way. So if you want more specific information, then please do message me on the Facebook group. You can ask a question, or if you've received your Mind in Bloom box and it is the mindful activity is to sow seeds, then I will be sowing them live on the Garden Live for this month. So please do check on the pin post in this group to see what date and time that is and join us there, because you can ask questions to your heart's content. I'm just going to talk a little bit very quickly about why I use these. Now, I've got some other alternatives here which obviously are completely fine. So you can use these plastic trays with compost in. The only thing about these is they're quite difficult to clean, and with seed sowing you really need everything to be as clean as possible because you don't want to introduce any disease at all. So I find these discs, I know they're fresh out of the box, so I know they're nice and clean and there's no disease. Whereas these, I battle with them, and you can see they're all cracked there where I've battled with cleaning them over the years. You can also use these pots. So these are biodegradable, so you can sow straight into them and then plant them straight out into the ground. Again, they're a really nice option. You just need to have the compost to put in them. So the reason I like these little discs is because they are just so easy to store. I mean, that is tiny. We're going to add some water in a minute and watch them grow, but they don't take up that much space. They're full of all the nutrients that the seed needs to germinate, and they're really nice and easy. So first things first, we're going to do this mindfully. So we're going to use all of our senses to really try and engage with the activity that we're doing. So for example, with these discs, you might like to look at them. What do they look like? The ones I'm using have actually got two sides. So they've got a side here with a little hole in the middle. That's the top because the seed sits in the hole, and then they've just got a flat bottom as well. Then all on the edge is a membrane that keeps all the compost that's on the inside intact as they swell. And you know, just feel them. What do they feel like? Do they feel nice? Do they feel rough? Do they feel smooth? Do they smell of anything? You can do that when they're dry. These ones I don't think smell particularly of much. But also, once you've added the water, you can do it once wet. Now, I'm going to add the water and watch them grow. This is my favourite bit. I feel like I'm doing a science experiment when I was a kid. So I'm just going to wait for those to grow. While I do that, I'm just going to talk you through some of the different types of seeds. So you can see here we've got 3 types of seed. I'm going to use this cocktail stick to point to them because one of them is super small. So this is your first one here. This is actually a sweet pea seed, and you can see that it's very round with a very hard coat, and it's got a little line on. Hopefully you can see that. If you can't, why not get some sweet pea seeds and give them a sow? And you can do your own mindful sowing. And then when you compare that to this seed here, you can see how this one's got kind of a spiky coat on it. It's almost flat in appearance. So this is because this seed would be spread by catching on to something and being carried along, probably on the fur of an animal. So that's a Cynoglossum seed, which is forget-me-not. And then this very tiny one here that looks like a little speck of dirt is an Antirrhinum seed, or a snapdragon seed as you probably know them. So you can see there the 3 types, well, I say 3 types of seed, there's many types of seed, but this is just 3 examples. So whilst you get your seed out of the packet, whatever seed you're doing this with, really notice what it's like, what colour it is, what does it feel like, does it smell of anything, does it make any sounds when you touch it. This one, for example, if you had a load of them in your hand, they might sort of make a brushing sound together. These little ones, when you shook the packet, it might be quite a quiet sound, whereas this one might be a much bigger sound. So just think about the different ways that the seed travels and why the different parts of the seed you know, how it can aid the seed turning into a flower. Right, so I've got my compost discs back and you can see that they have grown. There is quite a lot of excess water in the bottom of here, so I'm actually just going to tip that out because we don't need it. Because from here on in, you want to keep your seeds moist but not soaking. Okay, so at the minute they're obviously very wet because they've just soaked up the water. But going forwards, if the compost is moist and you give the little disc a squeeze and it feels really dry, then they need some water. Now, I'm actually not going to sow the sweet pea seed into these discs at all because sweet peas need a nice long pot to run their roots down, so these wouldn't be big enough for them. So I'm not going to show you that at all, but I am just going to show you the Cynoglossum seed. So that's the spiky one. I'm just going to take that, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to press it into that little hole, pop it in, and then I'm just going to press it down. Now, pressing it down just means that it makes contact with the compost, because you want it to make contact with the compost so the compost can give it the nutrients so it can grow its roots and its sprouts coming up to the sky. Now, the second one I'm going to do is the antirrhinum seed. In order to do this, I'm going to use a cocktail stick that I'm going to dip in water, because trying to manoeuvre that tiny seed, it's so small, it's just going to get lost. But if you use a damp cocktail stick, you can pick it up on the end. You probably can't see that, but it is on there. And then you are literally going to almost wipe it off into the disc. Now, key thing with these is not to press down, because they're so small, chances are it will just get stuck to your finger and then be lost, and then you'll be thinking, oh, well, why is there no flower? But it's because the seed was never actually in there because you pressed it down with your finger. I have done that way too many times. So there you go, very simple. You literally just press them in. Now, depending on the time of year and what facilities you have available, you need to either put this into your greenhouse, or if you don't have a greenhouse available, you can put it on a windowsill in your house, and you can just let it grow from there. You will need to turn it every now and again because the shoots will naturally grow towards the light, so you'll keep needing to turn it. Just keep an eye on it. Check it every couple of days. If it's inside, obviously it's going to dry out a lot quicker than it will outside. So in the house rather than the greenhouse, that is. And when you water it, just make sure that you don't just pour a load of water on top, because what that can do, especially with the really tiny seed, is just to wash it away. Whereas if you water and pour the water down into the tray that they're sat in, then the discs will suck up the water and get it to the seed. So there's no risk of it being washed away that way. Lastly, you will want to use a plant label to write the name of the seed on and just stick it into the compost disc, and then you are good to go. And then once the plant is big enough, you will be able to get it used to being outside and planting it out. If you are sowing your seeds in the spring or summer after all the frosts have gone, or even into the autumn actually, then you won't need to put the discs into the house or the greenhouse once the seeds have been sown. You can leave them outside. Given though that they are in a container, if it is very heavy rain, do make sure you check them, because they may get waterlogged. I quite like, when I'm sowing seeds in the summer or the autumn, I like to put them outside but under cover, so I've got a porch area that I tend to put mine under, so they're still kind of getting all the benefits of the sun and the warmth and being outside, but if it does really rain, then they've got that little bit of protection. Another really good idea is to put them outside on a windowsill. So if you've got a big windowsill on your house, outside, then just put them there, so the top of the windowsill will just shield them a little bit from the rain. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions that are specific to this month's Mind in Bloom membership program activity, mindful gardening activity that you've received in the post, then please do join us at this month's Garden Live. The date and time for it will be on the pinned post, which is higher up in the Facebook group. So please do have a look at that and see what date it is. If you can join us live, that would be wonderful, because you can ask questions live and I can answer them for you. If for whatever reason you cannot make the date, then please do send your questions in and via the reminder thread on the Facebook group, and I can make sure I answer them for you in the live. And the live video will then be stored in the community under, I think it's Unit 8. Unit 8. Okay, so yeah, I hope you can make it. I really look forward to seeing you there. Bye!